The governor Monday went to the window and door factory. We ran this earlier, but I guess we couldn't hear it. And someone asked him about this rumors of this investigation. Let's listen to that one more time.
I don't believe there's any cloud that hangs over me.
Well, getting back to that, can we?
I think there's nothing but sunshine hanging over me. I don't care whether you tape me privately or publicly. I can tell you that whatever I say is always lawful, and the things I'm interested in doing are always lawful.
What does he do now, Andrea Tantaros?
Step down. He needs to step down. That's it. Any elected official, any higher up in corporate America has the duty to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. And he's got to go.
If he's that arrogant,
it almost proves that he's guilty. I mean, that wouldn't hold up in court, but his arrogance almost shows, yeah, this guy's capable of this.
do you think that he will, based on what we know about him?
No, I think there's two things that can happen. He can be, I guess the legislature can boot him out.
Impeach him.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
But that takes a little time.
But why would you? But why? If I'm giving him advice, I'm saying just step down. Why would you want to go through that?
America doesn't need this sideshow.
Exactly.
But he doesn't care about America, right? I mean, that
Clearly.
seems to be pretty clear. Yeah. So why not stay?
State Legislative Speaker Michael Madigan, a Democrat from Chicago, said he is prepared to call the Illinois House into session as early as Monday to set a special election to fill the seat, the Senate seat. So I guess they could override the governor's authority by calling for a special election.
Well, they were balking at the special election because it costs $50 million. And the state of Illinois doesn't have the $50 million to go spending on a special election.
Well, they could probably apply for the TARP. Everybody else seems to be.
You should make this guy.
Wouldn't it be worth it at this point?
Well, now they're going to have. Now they may need a special election. How does the governor get replaced if he's?
They sell the governor's
lieutenant
seat.
Governor, right? Lieutenant governor steps
The
in.
freaking governor's seat.
But it's you could compare this situation to Rick Wagner at GM at a certain level, right? I mean, the comments that Wagner made coming to Congress the first time, totally different story. There was no apology. There was no acceptance of kind of the reality that was all around him. Again, I said earlier, they both have a tin ear to what's going on in the public. They don't understand what their audience is expecting of them. They likely live in their own bubbles, and that's the way that they communicate.
And they both shouldn't have their jobs right now, but they do. So, until we have a zero tolerance policy as a country, this is just going to continue on and on and on. That's why, it would be in Illinois' best interest to move quickly for the sake of their government and get it.
Larry Craig,
Thank you, the toe tapper. I
Thanks,
drew a blank.
John Kindred.
And then Mark Foley, and the list just goes on and on and on. And you wonder, okay, I know that, women are not, women can be corrupted and women can, but these are all men. Is it because there's less women in office, or is it because women are just more ethical? I'm not taking a position. I'm just throwing it out there for discussion.
I'm not touching that one. Steve Sincock writes, I bid $15 billion for Rick's seat, but I need to get a bailout first from Congress.
There you go.
$15 billion, and that'd be worth it. It depends on who's on the panel with you. Burns, Tantaros, Cupp, Dobson, etc. alongside is going to be a lot more valuable than a bunch of middle-aged bow tie-wearing guys.
Thank God, no tie.
No tie.
No bow ties here today, so that's present company
But thanks.
excused. Matthew says, I'm surprised that the governor's not in a white Bronco. Illinois governor approval rating, imaginary numbers. There's going to be pressure on him, obviously, from all sides to step down, based on what we now know, or what's been recorded. I'm sure that he's not going to want to, and I wonder, how this will play out, whether they can put enough pressure on him to step down.
Probably, by the way, not good for Charlie Rangel, this whole thing coming out.
Why?
Because Rangel's got all of these ethical investigations going on around him, and to the extent that Obama and Pelosi and the rest of the leadership have to get tougher on ethics right now, and they've got an example right in front of them, he could end up being an example that
this isn't good for the
may as well.
Democrats, because she's been turning a blind eye to wrangle. And you're right, this is going to start to highlight what else. I mean, and you could argue, is this a trend now with Democrats? They're coming into power. Are we going to see more with this? The Republicans went through their cycle. Is it Democrats' turn now? If I'm Barack Obama, I am coming out very angry about this. I mean, this is his, even though he's not involved that we know of right now, he ran on a reputation of accountability, transparency, ethics, morals. He's got to say, get out. And it's tied to his home state. And he knows the guy. He's got to take a zero-tolerance policy.
Well, if Blagojevich was a Republican, would the response have been different? There's an emailer that asks, that suggests that if you're a Republican, Chuck Schumer would have been on in a nanosecond demanding a full-scale investigation on top of the one already going on, and the rest of the usual suspects would be bloviating too. Is that fair?
Yeah, although at some level this is so outlandish that you don't have to stand up and, except for Obama, who I think has to make a point. If you're not directly involved in this, I'm not sure what getting up there and talking is going to do. But the Democrats came to power in 2006 largely because of ethical violations from Republicans. At least that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in a lot of ways. And now it's 2 years later, and they've got a couple that they're contending with already. You have to crush this. I mean, you have to almost go over the top.
Unless Obama's silent, because he doesn't know where else this is going to spray. And he doesn't know if it's going to touch his people, and so he's just keeping his powder dry. Even though he might personally say, I had nothing to do with this. He might say, who's candidate 1, who's candidate 2, who's candidate 3, who have I talked to?
He better find out, and he better get rid of them before it hits the news.
As you mentioned, David Axelrod was quoted on November 23rd. He was actually on Fox News Chicago's morning show, that he knew that Obama and the governor had spoken to one another about the individuals who the governor was thinking of choosing to take Obama's place in the Senate. So Axelrod, Barack Obama's aide, said that Obama and the governor had spoken. Then yesterday, Obama denied talking to the governor, and Axelrod later said that he was mistaken, and Obama never did speak directly to the governor. So the question is, was he mistaken, or was he told that he was mistaken, that you can't say that?
Mm-hmm. Or was the FBI taping at that time?
If they were, then
is there a tape?
How long have they been taping? They said
a month and a half.
A month and a half. Are we positive that's it? There's not more?
But that was what was reported today.
Yeah, well, they were saying that it was sparked by this phone call 3 months ago, and then so they had to go and get their wiretaps and get the whatever the.
I wonder if there's
what the
judge's approval.
More.
This is always, or a lot of the time, it's not about the crime; it's about the cover-up. And the risk for Obama is that if he or his team spoke to Blagojevich, the strategy that I would strongly recommend from a communications perspective is go out there and say, these were all the conversations that we had. Of course we spoke to the governor. It's my Senate seat. You think I'm not going to have a conversation with him about who I think is appropriate to fill the Senate seat? But there's a difference between having a conversation with the governor
and putting it on eBay.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And getting way out in front of that, saying these are all the people that had conversations. These are the conversations that we had. This is the person that I recommended should fill the Senate seat, and this is why. And be far out in front, because if this Axelrod thing, which should be nothing, turns out that Obama did speak to him, it doesn't matter what the substance of the call was.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to pay attention to that. The headline is going to be Axelrod said he spoke to him. Obama then he said he didn't. In fact, he did. That's the story, right?
Well,
there.
I agree that it wouldn't be out of whack for Barack Obama to call the governor of Illinois just to say, hey, saying hello. They're fellow Democrats. I know you've got the responsibility now of filling my seat. I mean, maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he wouldn't want the appearance that he was trying to influence his decision, but I could see him making that phone call. But I mean, the arrogance of someone, that you try and use it allegedly for your own promotion, your own gain, that you wouldn't just say, "This is my state that I care about. I'm the governor of the state."